Neural network is one of the most used algorithm in today's world. But why it's getting popularity with days? What is actually inside them? So we have some of the coolest projects using neural network, that is object detection, face recognition, image classification, text to speech, and Google Lens as well. The fortune companies like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google are currently using neural network concepts. So let's have a look at what actually neural network is. Suppose if you take an example of just to classify between cat or dog, then why you should go for using neural network, not machine learning, right? So basically in the traditional machine learning, you need to do manual selection of the features. But for the deep learning, the neural networks comes under a deep learning. So in the deep learning, you don't need to go for manual selection. Your model will automatically select the feature which is actually required to classify a picture for cat or dog. And when comes the neural network, what is it actually? A neural network is a network or a circuit of neurons. A neural network is either a biological neural network made up of real biological neurons or an artificial neural network for solving artificial intelligence problems. The connection of the biological neurons are modeled as weights. A positive weight reflects on excitatory connections, while negative values mean inhibitory connections. All inputs are modified by a weight and sum. This activity is referred to as a linear combination. Finally, an activation function controls the amplitude of the output. For an example, an acceptable range of output is usually between 0 and 1. Or it could be -1 and 1. So let's have a look at what is the history of neural network. A neural network is an interconnected group of natural or artificial neurons for mathematical or computational modeling. Neural networks are non-linear statistical data modeling or decision-making tools. Neural network solves complex relationship between inputs and outputs or to find patterns in the data. Artificial neurons were first proposed in 1943 by Warren and Walter Pitts. We first collaborated at the University of Chicago. What we have the basic components of biological neurons. The majority of neurons input their activations or output as a series of brief electrical pulses, that is spikes or action potentials. The neural cell body processes the incoming activation and converts them into output activations. The neuron's nucleus contains the genetic material in the form of DNA. This exists in most types of cells, not just neurons. So dendrites are fibers which emanate from the cell body and provide the receptive zones that receives activation from other neurons. Axons are fibers acting as transmission lines that send activation to other neurons. The junctions that allow signal transmission between the axons and the dendrites are called synapses. The process of transmission is by diffusion of chemical called neurotransmitters across the synaptic self. Now let's have a look at the human brains versus the neural network. In the human brain we have dendrites, cell body, axon terminal and so many. But in the artificial neural network we have activation function, we have sound and the output, right? So in neural network what we have the input layer, we have hidden layers and we have output layers. So let's have a look at the components we have in human brain versus neural network. So in the human brain we have cell nucleus, whereas the artificial neuron has node. We have dendrites. In the artificial neural network we have input like X1, X2, X3. In the human brain we have synapses, whereas in the neural network we have weights or interconnections. In human brain we have axon, where in the neural network we have the mapping or activation function, that is f of x. And lastly we have in the human brain that is terminal axon, and in the neural network we have output, that is y1. Now let's have a look at what is neuron. This is a very simple element that has some limited number of inputs. Some weight is tied to each of these inputs and the neuron simply takes and carries out a weighted summation of its inputs. So this is what actually neuron is. Now let's have a look at what are the components we have in neural network, that is artificial neural network. So we have input values, we have weight and bias, we have net sum and activation or state function. So what happened actually? When you give your image, so your image pixel will be converted as an input, right? So after that, that inputs will be added with the weighted sum and the bias. And lastly, we will use some of the activation function to pass those weighted sum. And then lastly, we will get our output in a probability form. Now let's have a look at working of a neural network. A neural network is trained by adjusting neuron input weights based on the network's performance on example inputs. If the network classify an output correctly, weights contributing to the correct answer are increased, while other weights are decreased. So what is the activation function? In neural network, the activation function of a node defines the output of that node given an input or set of inputs. A standard integrated circuit can be seen as a digital network of activation function that can be on or off depending on input. So this is what actually activation function is. So now you will have a look at what are the most common activation function we have. So we use sigmoid function, we use hyperbolic tangent function, that is known as tanh. We use softmax function, softfind function, and we also use rectified linear unit, that is known as ReLU. And lastly, we use exponential linear units, that is ReLU's function. So we almost came to an end of this short video. I hope you guys like it, and if you guys want to know more advanced topics like this, then please subscribe Great Learning. And if you want to do some cool project, and if you want to actually step up your career with this advanced domain, then please go to Great Learning Academy, where you will get almost 80 plus free courses, and after complete your course you can claim your certificate as well. That is also free of cost. And if you want to do these courses on Great Learning app on your mobile application, that is also available using Great Learning app. So thank you so much.